Welcome to the Fruitful Faith Women on Mission podcast. This podcast is created for purpose-driven women just like you who crave more. On the Fruitful Faith podcast, you can expect Christ-centered conversations that will help you to cultivate a life that you and He love. We'll be talking about topics that matter, topics that impact your everyday life. We'll talk about anything from how to transition with grace, to what to do when you're overwhelmed, to how to be content and joyful right where God's got you. It's going to be good. Let's dive on in. Hey, and welcome back to the Fruitful Faith Women on Mission podcast. My name is Alexandra Cavill. I'm a certified master coach for purpose-driven women who crave more. So if you are looking to do just that, live a more intentional, prioritized, and Christ-centered life, this podcast is for you. And today, specifically, we are talking about a really exciting, powerful, scary, all of the things topic, and it is how to have hard conversations, and specifically how to have hard conversations in a Christ-centered way. So speaking of, let's just dive right in, right? The first thought for you is, how do you handle conflict? Consider, is it something that you thrive off of? Maybe you get excited for disagreements and you love to emphasize your point or just have a good-natured disagreement with another party. Maybe that's something that's exciting for you. Or maybe when you think about conflict or disagreement, does it make you want to run or sprint in the opposite direction? So oftentimes we can be in one of two parties. So think about that for a second. Where are you? And then thinking about the idea too that, either way, no matter what camp you fall in, tough conversations, essentially, they are a part of life, right? We can almost guarantee that they are bound to happen. So we might as well get curious about how to address them effectively if there's something that we can expect. You might have heard the only constant in life is change, besides Jesus, right? And that's what we maybe can think about with conflict too. We know that hard stuff is going to come up. We live in a fallen world, so we might as well think about how to have them and how to do them well. So let's dig in. So, as you enter a hard conversation, you might want to consider, what is it that God is trying to show you? What humility might He be encouraging you to consider as you head into this tough discussion? You might want to think about, what is it that you are learning about yourself? What is it that you're learning about the other individual through this situation? There is such goodness in it, even if it feels hard or icky or uncomfortable, right? God uses all things for good. And then think about, what is it that you are learning about God through exploring how to approach this tough discussion? There is so much fruit, right? Even before it happens. So as you go to prepare for the conversation, there are a number of tips to address that will help you to do it and do it well. So the first one that I would share is to pray, right? So simple, yet so incredibly effective. Go to God. That is the best preparation that you could ever do. Ask Him to give you the words to say and the way in which to share them. He is going to be our guide, our protector, our provider. You'll want to ask, what is it that needs to be shared? And maybe what is it, maybe even more important than what's shared, what is it that needs to not be said? What is it that needs to stay between you and God? And get clear on that too. Then you might want to consider, what is top priority as you think about what needs to be conveyed as you get ready for this hard conversation. So it might be tempting to have a list of multiple items, multiple topics that you want to address, that you're eager to jump into and share and let the person know how you feel. But I would encourage you to keep it simple, right? Focus on what is the main thing here. So as you get into the emotion of the discussion, it could be helpful to to focus on facts, right? Let it be more about behaviors and not about the person or a personal attack. That's not going to be helpful, not beneficial. That's going to cause the other person to shut down, which just isn't productive for either of you. So, one of the things that the assessments that I love, maybe you're familiar with this one or not. If not, I would definitely encourage you to look into it. And it's called the DISC assessment. So, DISC. And it's a tool that I'll use in coaching, and will use and had used in the professional world too when I was in human resources leadership development. Fun little fact there, I've got a master's in HR development and spent about 8 years or so in the corporate space before pursuing coaching. And so that was an assessment that we had used in our leadership development program in one of the organizations that I'd worked with. And why it's so powerful is because it's about behaviors, and behaviors can be changed. So, as we think about going into a hard conversation, let it focus on behaviors. Let it focus on something that people actually have influence over and not their personality or who they are at their core, right? Okay, so it's related but different. You may want to also be intentional about how you want the other person to feel during the conversation and how you'll convey that. So kind of in the sense of, the spirit of not wanting to go in feeling like you're attacking anyone, right? That's not, I would imagine, especially as you look to pursue a hard conversation in a godly way, that is something you want to avoid, right? And so the Maya Angelou quote really stands out as I think about how to do this and how to do that well. That people might not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So, something maybe to keep in mind as you pursue a hard conversation, to do it in a godly way, a way that includes grace and forgiveness and love. How you're making someone feel during a tough conversation is everything, right? So, thinking about what could help with this, you might want to focus on what you share in common. What is it that you're both driving towards? How are you on the same team in regards to something? What are your commonalities? And that's always a great place to start from. You might also want to consider how this dialogue, how the outcome can be a win win. So, regardless of what comes out of the discussion, consider, well, what would you say needs to happen in order for the conversation to be considered a success? Maybe it's not someone quote winning, but maybe it's sharing a point of view. Maybe having the opportunity to speak your heart, and share God's truth. Maybe simply doing that is success for you. Maybe success is connecting with this person on a deeper, more intimate and vulnerable level than before. So think about that. Think about, what does success look like throughout this hard discussion, and let that drive you and direct you. And then from a practical, maybe preparation perspective, specifics, think about, what do you know about this individual as you get ready to have the tough discussion? What do you know about this person that will help you to have the conversation? What do you know about their style? What do you know about their approach? What do you know that they might immediately draw upon or dig into? And how can you be aware of that as you prepare to speak? How could that be helpful? And then you might want to think about, well, when is a good time to have the conversation? Even though maybe if you're anything like me, you want to do it as soon as possible and get the hard thing off your chest and just do it, as Nike says. But maybe thinking about the person and thinking about timing, maybe a weekend is best. Maybe instead of having the conversation in the evening after a long day at work, maybe the person is more fresh in the morning, and maybe that's a better, more effective time. So getting curious about what that looks like and then what could be most helpful. And then thinking about the person too. Are they going to be okay in the moment? Or would it be helpful to have some sort of heads up? Maybe this is something that's on your radar, but not on theirs. And maybe just knowing, if they can anticipate to expect it, that would be a gift for them and a gift for you both. So, just some things to think about as you get ready and you prepare for your hard conversation. And then, of course, we talked about kicking it off with prayer. As you conclude your tough discussion, I'd encourage you to bookend it in the same way. Go to God, pray, ask Him to show you what He did and what He's doing through this discussion. Maybe ask Him to show you what stood out. Maybe it's, well, God, what would you call me to have done differently next time around? And just going to Him with a heart of humility and a heart of gratitude for what happened, and just praying that He does something beautiful with it. So I hope this blessed you. And if it's helpful to dig into how to have hard conversations, or really how to do hard things, that's what coaching is all about. So if you've got maybe a hard conversation and just hard things in general in your life, and you want to do it and do it well and do it in a God honoring way, let's talk. You're more than welcome to connect with me over a clarity call. It's a 45-minute kind of mini coaching session, if you will, where we dig into your hard stuff, where you want to go, where you feel like the Lord is leading, and then explore what coaching is, and if it's a right fit for you and your goals. So if that's something you want to do, I'd invite you to reserve time for us at gracebasedchristiancoaching.com/book-online. So again, I hope this episode blessed you on having a hard conversation. I hope you feel equipped. I hope you feel empowered. And I hope you feel encouraged to just share God and be His hands and feet as you go into a tough discussion. I hope that you have a takeaway or two, that you learned something new, or you're thinking about something in a different way. And just know that you can come back to this episode, right, anytime you need and anytime you want. All right, till next time. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fruitful Faith Women on Mission podcast. If you love this episode, I would love for you to subscribe. New episodes will automatically show up on your phone when you subscribe. It's super convenient, and you'll make sure you never miss a thing. So excited to share more with you soon.